From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Oh yeah, baby. We are here, and now you are too, and what a delight. I'm tickled, just tickled to have you here. Today's show is going out to everyone around the globe, particularly those working on houses. So if you are a roofer or you are a person who sells roofing, maybe you're knocking on doors saying, hey, you need your roof done. I salute you because it's winter in the U.S. and it is cold and a good roof matters. If you are a framer, if you are an electrician, I tell you what, I don't mess around with electricity. I'll mess around with my plumbing a little bit. I don't mess around with my electricity. To you plumbers, to you folks laying the pavement, all right, the asphalt. Well, I got a great asphalt guy, Rob. Oh, Ned's the best. What he did with my driveway.
Not a pain in the asphalt, right?
No. To you HVAC folk, good to have you. But also to the ranchers, the cattle folk, to the horsemen, horsewomen. I love my farmers and ranchers and horse folk. I just love them to freaking death. It is great to have you all here. I am joined in studio as per usual by KC right over there in the booth and Rob the Rocket. Rob, Rocket, sir.
She was only a rancher's daughter, but all the horsemen knew her.
Oh, what's that from?
Don't think about it.
All the horsemen knew her.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, manure. All right.
There we go.
Well played, my man.
Is
that actually from a song?
I don't think so. It's from a very old and bad joke.
I like it. Can I tell you one? There was a book out and it was like a joke book, and it's really kind of bad. But there was a joke book it was called Humor from the Big Ten. When I was like in junior high, I'm sure I stole it from like the library or something. And it was humor from bathrooms, graffiti in bathrooms across the Big Ten that people had submitted, right? And one of them, it was like a declension. And so the first sentence was, "Oh, George, let's not park here." And then the sentence under it was, "Oh, George, let's not park." And then the next sentence underneath that was, "Oh, George, let's not." And then the one under that was, "Oh, George, let's." And then one under that was, "Oh, George." And the one under that was, "Oh."
Or, oh.
Right.
I'm sorry I started this.
Oh, come on. You're so anti-sex, you prude.
All
right. So, Rob, tell us about Kitty, sir, if you would.
Absolutely, Sven. Kitty wrote in with the subject line, "Can my marriage be saved?" And she says, "My wife and I have been married for 8 years, together for 14. And by the way, it was her wife that was on last week's show. Okay? Got it. We are both dealing with childhood trauma. My wife drank excessively at one point in our marriage and ended up crashing her car into a tree in front of my kids. I supported her through rehab, and after she found sobriety, she started working on her trauma through our marriage, in my opinion. Then recently, she confessed to stealing money from our farm, and I'm at a point I don't think I can support our marriage anymore. I can't trust her and feel I'm dealing with an extreme taker who has no idea of what she's doing to us. I'm also working through my childhood trauma myself, but I'm just at a point I don't know how to get past this last event. I still do love her, but not sure anymore if it's just a trauma bond and not love. We have created a family through our 5 boys, and I don't want to give up, but I'm not sure we can work through this. P.S. My wife does have your book and is trying to work on it with me, but I can't get over what she did to our marriage."
Kitty, great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is completely ours. Kitty, I'm going to ask you a completely unrelated question to the fundamental premise of your paragraph, but it is included in your paragraph. And I'm going to ask because I know that there are going to be people wondering, because I know I'm wondering, and I'm not real bright. So it's an honest question. It's an honest question. You are the first lesbian couple that we have had on our show.
Wow.
And yes, and which that's not a statistic I'm particularly proud of, that this is the first one after 2.5 years of having the show. As everyone knows, I have a lesbian daughter, and, my production assistant, for whatever reason, we've gone through a couple, and so whatever. Anyway, my point is, And this is a strange question, but it's an honest question. You don't have to answer it. Tell me to go fuck myself, whatever, but it's an honest question. What's it like as two moms raising 5 boys? Does it matter? Is there a thing? Just honestly, it's an honest question, because I was raised in a family of 5 boys and one sister. So tell me.
It reaffirms why I am with her every day. I love my boys and she loves hers, but I look at them and I'm like, I understand why I'm a lesbian. Like, boys are boys, and and there are 5 biggest supporters. I will say that.
Well, no. Come on. You can't put that out there with a little explanation. What does that mean? Now I understand why I'm a lesbian. Now, I have to believe you did not choose to be a lesbian. So it's not because, boys are stinky and, whatever. Come on. Help me understand what that means.
You guys are the same. I watch my boys. I watch her boys. They're all in relationships, and they all just are very similar. They're not soft. I'm not saying that they're not soft, but I get reaffirmed why I'm with a woman. A woman is so much softer and kinder and gentler, and she doesn't fart. And,
come on. Kitty, do you expel gas? Yes or no?
No.
Now I know we're in bullshitville. Okay. My girlfriend, she a little toot, little beep, and she doesn't like being kidded about it, but that's all right. Okay, Kitty, let's dive into the meat of why you are here. A couple of quick rat-a-tat questions here. You said my wife drank excessively at one point in our marriage, ended up crashing her car into a tree in front of our kids. So you did not say the kids were in the car, but you said in front of the kids. What astronomically odd odds that the kids were right there and saw it? Briefly, what's the story there?
Quick story. I took my son, my oldest, I have 3 boys, to fit for his prom tuxedo. I'm at the store. I get a phone call that I understood that had excessively drank that day, and I had had enough. I left the house. I went with him. And as we were on our way back, I knew she left the house, but I was done. I knew I couldn't stop her. There was nothing I could do. And so I was headed back, and I get a phone call from my youngest son. And my middle son and my youngest son were out in the front yard playing football.
And Cass slammed into a tree in front of the house, basically.
Yep. And my middle son ran down to the car. I am on the road now that she crashed on. This all happened within 45 seconds.
Wow.
So my middle son runs down there, and he's trying to break into her car. She's in mud. I am pulling up to the scene, and I realize as I'm running to the car, I don't know what. It hit me. I don't know if she's alive or if she's dead.
Of course not. Of course. And just so I'm clear on this, how long ago did this accident happen? That's the first trauma that you introduce, other than both dealing with childhood trauma. That's the first trauma that you introduce us to inside the context of your marriage. There may have been others, but how long ago was this one?
That was in 2020. 2020. Or 2020.
2020. All right. So we'll say 2020. If you want to change your mind, you can, but we'll run with that. So 5 years ago, supported her through rehab after she found sobriety. She started working on her trauma through our marriage, in my opinion, which means when you're saying through our marriage, you didn't mean through the duration of our marriage. You mean she was using our marriage as a mechanism for working on her trauma. And if you were to give us sort of a 1-sentence explanation of what the fuck that means, well, what the fuck does that mean?
Her triggers, she was applying to everybody in the house. And so what made her drink, I feel like she started applying it to everybody in the house and the way that we lived. And
for example,
cleaning the house. She was a big fanatic with OCD, over the top cleaning, and things wouldn't be right or the house wouldn't look right, and it would flip her out. And instead of her understanding where that came from, the root of her issue, she would take it out on everybody in the house, or, through our marriage, if she felt abandoned all the time, like she would blame me. And I always knew where it was coming from. I know that's not very clear answer.
No, that helps. That absolutely helps. So if I'm hearing you correctly, before when she'd have her own shit flip out inside of her, she'd just start fucking boozing. She'd grab the Jack or the fucking Chardonnay or whatever, and she'd start hitting the bottle and sort of go into her fucking hole or whatever. And just out of curiosity, what kind of drunk was she? Funny drunk, loud drunk, mean drunk, happy drunk? What kind of drunk was she?
Happy and sad.
Okay, so she would go into her happy, sad fucking thing, take away the bottle, and now all of a sudden, that energy, that neurosis is getting turned onto every last fucking thing in the house. Got to be in its every last fucking place. And she's now spitting some venom out of people in the house. Is that right? So onto you and onto the kids, presumably. Okay. Now, I got to ask, sort of an honesty check here. You said we both had trauma from childhood. So how is your childhood trauma coming out in this situation? Or are you all fucking namaste kumbaya and you got no fucking issues? How was your shit coming out either on its own or especially when she's going full on fucking wingnut here?
Well, I was abused probably the majority of my life, physically, mentally. Looking back on it now, I was oblivious to it till 18 years old. But I started to see how I was had no boundaries. I would go back after being treated a certain way instead of defending who I was and defending what mattered to me. I always felt like my feelings weren't being validated. She wasn't hearing what I was saying. I realized that all came from my childhood of never being heard from my mother, being slapped around for quite a bit. So I felt like I was tolerating things I should have never tolerated. Listening to your podcast, I think it was about a year or so ago, you had a podcast about how the dad in the situation who didn't do anything, my father didn't, he knew, he was oblivious to it and he never said anything.
Wait a minute. You just said two different things, two opposing things. He was oblivious to it. He knew.
Well, for me as a child, I guess you are right.
Looking back, did he know or did he not know?
He knew.
He knew.
Yeah.
So it's not that he was oblivious. So then dad sees mom, you said verbally and physically abusing Kitty, you, and dad washed his hands of the whole thing. And I have to ask the obvious question, knowing your dad as well as anyone, what do you think the fundamental reason is that dad stepped out of the way? He pushed you out of the foxhole to eat the hail of bullets while he hid out in the foxhole, basically like a fucking coward. Why?
I think it's to avoid her.
And specifically, was mom a wrath, a nagger, a silent treatment, a physical abuser? She'd steal the money. What was mom's shtick?
Stealing money. She'd abuse. She'd physically abuse me. She would neglect me.
But what would she do to him if he had stepped in front of you and said, bitch?
She would ignore him mentally. She would take that route. She wasn't physical to him.
So dad, being a coward, said, sweetheart, Kitty, you go out, eat mom's shit. I'm just going to stand over here to protect myself. So fundamentally, it's not just that dad did not protect you. Dad fundamentally chose himself over you. Underlying message to the girl is what?
That I don't matter.
That you don't matter. And so let me ask you this. As a little girl, let's say 6, let's say 8, let's say 10, a little girl doesn't have the cognitive thought, not that you didn't have the ability. Little girls, little boys don't think, I don't matter. That's not a thought. They don't think in those words. What was the thought? What did that translate into in little kitty language? What did you think of yourself? Or what was one of the phrases that would run through your brain?
I don't know if a phrase would, but I was always living in fear. Okay. And so I was always very scared because I didn't know what I was doing, if it was right or wrong, and I never could make my mom happy and do the right thing.
Okay. And so did you have any sort of view of yourself?
Ugly. I felt ugly. I felt not good enough. Never that I was seen,
Okay. Ugly, not good enough, and not seen, you said?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. All right. And so then, fast forward back to your marriage. So then she's going off, and she's just firing bullets in every direction. Well, on one hand, this is old home week. You're used to this shit.
I am.
Right. Sucks. But you're getting, I have to believe this is setting off old fucking sticks of dynamite. I mean, triggering all sorts of shit. Am I correct?
You are.
Okay. So then, but the crashing the car in front of into the tree in front of the kids, this was in 2025 years ago. You've been married for 8, together for 14. That means you had been together 9 years before that happened. So what I want you to do, if you would, and then we know that after that, she'd work on her trauma through the marriage. She would be stealing money from the family farm. After that, presumably after, not before. After. And okay, so I want to ask you a question. Since you started with the crashing the car into the tree in front of the children.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So let me ask you this. Prior to 2020, those 9 years prior to 2020, and the subsequent 5 years, what percentage of the shit was pre-2020? What percent has been post-2020? Give me any number you want.
60% was pre.
60% was pre. In those first 9 years, 40% has been post. All right. So, and we know, as we said, that she's started working on her trauma through our marriage. So she now, okay, just fucking Rageville and neurotic and so forth, taking it out on people, stealing money from the farm.
I never knew what a dry drunk was until she got home from her rehabs. Because she went to 2, she failed the first one, and I got upset with that. And then she drank the day after she got home from the rehab. And then I did finally have to kick her out, and I stood my ground, and she went and lived with her mom, and she drank again to the point where she was so bad that her mom convinced her, but her mom's big problem, had convinced her to go to another rehab. And then that's when the healing kind of started after that. But I didn't realize, they don't prepare you that when they come home sober, that's a whole nother process. And I had no idea about it.
Why would you? And that's the thing, the problems, the origins of the problems are still there. Yeah, the booze may be gone. The sore throat is gone, but the virus is still there.
I still had all these open wounds that were, somewhat because of this. And now I'm trying to deal with myself. But honestly, Sven, I thought she was going to come home and she was going to be this loving individual and this different person. And she just started to heal once she got home, and she didn't know how to utilize the tools. She went right back into the environment that was having her drink. Yeah. And I realized that. And I was just like, oh my God, but I thought, it's my marriage. I am a big firm believer that you marry somebody through thick and thin. And I knew, and this is where my trauma got in the way of why I said what I said in my paragraph, was I wasn't sure if this is a trauma bond or if I'm in love with her anymore. Mm-hmm. And I know I love her, Sven, but I also had just asked myself, like, how long am I going to deal with this? And she wasn't helping me, but I also saw she was trying to help herself. Right. And it was just okay.
Right. And unless without someone to hold your hand through that process of digging down and scooping out all the shit from childhood, to do it on your own when you already are, are just coming out of a heavy addiction. I mean, that's just that requires such a massive amount of self-discipline that to expect it of someone just coming out of rehab, it's next to impossible. It might as well be impossible. But so coming back to this then, there's been 40% of the trauma has come after the car crash in 2020. That 60% was before. And I want to ask, just to fully set the stage, how fundamentally, if hers was the bottle and then dry drunk and the everything has to be in its place and taking out everything, how did all of your childhood, how have you been escaping your childhood? What has been your mechanism? Or is it gambling? Is it pot? Is it pills? Is it booze? Is it overworking, overparenting? What's what has been, at least in the past, your thing?
Overworking, diving into things and overparenting, overworking. I don't do drugs. Me and Kate did drink prior to her and her crash. That I started to drink a little bit at times. And then there was a point in our marriage before the crash that I realized that the drinking had started to cause physical violence between us because I could not keep myself contained anymore. And I saw the demons coming out, and I'm like, I got to stop. So
Physical violence from you on her or her on you, or both?
Both.
Both.
And that's where I had told her, I'm like, yeah, I said, we're both we're both abused people. I said, and what I realized was, at least it was my take on it, Sven, was we were both working our traumas out, that physical aggression, that physical abuse that we went through. We were working it out through each other, never realized that that's what we were doing. We were saying, we were fighting, and sometimes that alcohol would, bring us up to a higher level where all of a sudden we were fighting with each other. And once the alcohol got taken away on my half, I started realizing, oh my God, I was just doing where I came from, my childhood. I was physically coming after something because of that. And we didn't know the separation or the difference at the time. And now I do.
Right. Right. And so this is, we're going to just, right before we go to break here, we're going to take a commercial break. But before we do, I want to just take this to your point at the very beginning of the show when you were talking about a lesbian relationship as opposed to man, and saying, women are gentler. But you've educated a lot of my listeners right there. Mm-hmm. You've educated and basically said, hey, we fight too. And it can't, if there's trauma there, hey, we can come to blows too. And it ain't pretty and we ain't proud of it. Nobody's bragging on that shit. It's just as abusive. So if I'm hearing you correctly, and you correct me if I'm wrong, women are just as capable of physical abuse, verbal abuse, as a man. Am I overstepping there in your experience in life?
You're correct.
Okay.
You're correct.
All right. Much more to come right after this break.
Why do we sometimes feel as though we are constantly reliving the same story with different partners? What binds our traumas to our fantasies? How do the traces of significant events from our lives influence our erotic preferences? Can we ever free ourselves from the imprints left by our past? You can find answers to those and more in PhD Canadian professor Michael Doris's latest, The Little Red Book on the Origin of Your Sexual Fantasies, available on Amazon.
Are you longing to feel connected and not so alone? Longing to be happy and more alive? Badass Counseling is excited to announce the creation of Community Plus, a subscription-based private group of folks just wanting to more closely share their soul journey together with like-minded folks and with me, Sven. For a monthly fee, you'll get bi-monthly live Q&As with me, Sven, giving you a better chance of getting your own questions answered. A private community feed for you to post pictures, successes, struggles, joys, even the occasional cat picture, creating greater connection and help for healing and growth. Random drawings for free small group sessions and drawings for private coaching sessions with me. Priority access to becoming a guest on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Unlimited access to my DIY video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. And so much more. Community Plus is for people serious about their soul journey who want real growth, real help, real laughter, real connection, and true community. Join us now at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with Kitty. And Kitty is the wife of Cass, and Cass was on the show last week. And we're getting Kitty's side of the story. And she tells us that 60% of the damage done to the relationship was done prior to 2020, and 40% has been done since 2025. One of the things that you comment, Kitty, in your paragraph is that you say, I can't trust her. Now that's huge. Really, many would argue, and I would argue, that we can say that love is the essence of a relationship. We can say commitment is the essence of a relationship. For me personally, trust is really the foundation. If you can't fucking trust somebody, whether because of cheating or because of their character or because there's just been so much water over the dam, there's just been so much shit slung that for some people, I'm not trying to force this on you, but for some people, you just reach a fucking point. It's like, there's There's no coming back from it. But here's the thing. Okay, let's assume, Kitty, that there is coming back from all the shit that Cass has done. Is she really trying? In your book, is she really even, if you're being totally fucking honest here, is she really fucking trying? Because you don't give any fucking indicator in your paragraph that it's like, you don't say, I got to give it to her. She's busting her balls. She's fucking in therapy. And she's, you do say, she read the book or whatever, which is great. But that's still expecting her to do it on her own, and that's a big ask. And do you feel like she's busting balls? Do you feel like she's owning her shit? Because you do say, I feel like I'm dealing with an extreme taker that has no idea of what she is doing to us, which tells me there is not full acknowledgement, there is not full grasping, and potentially even avoiding, resisting the desire to fucking own and atone. Talk to me.
I feel like she tries when everything is good. When she gets triggered, it's almost like, the best way I could describe it is the roller coaster ride. Because when she gets triggered, she goes into a high that she has no understanding of who she is and what she does after that. And those moments, I look at it like, if she could just stop herself right now and realize who she is right now, she could be doing the work. Now, when we get into an argument or a trigger happens and we have a couple weeks where we're at each other's throats, and then finally one of us gives, I'll hear from her that she's doing the book and she's doing all this. And I just wonder, like, I felt like it happened in rehab. She went to rehab twice, Sven. And I thought, why are you not giving it everything that you have? And I always felt like since rehab, and I'm going to give her the props. I know she's trying, Sven, but it seems like she just like to give it her all. I don't know what we would be at this point of our marriage right now if she would stop giving half-ass efforts and come to some acknowledgement of who she is.
So you're saying she is giving it effort, but it's half-ass effort.
At times it's very half-ass. And it's like when everything is good, or when we've come to that brink where we're finally coming down from our high from an argument, she's in the book, she's listening to podcasts, she's trying with me, she's,
why then and why not when things are humming along? Speculate.
Because she's trying to make sure she doesn't lose me.
Well, sure. And what? Okay. And then the other side, why wouldn't you work on something when it's humming along?
Yeah, she to me, you fall back into your routine.
Well, yeah, because I don't have to. Everything's fine. Why would I dig up old shit? Everything's fine. Everything's fine. But what a fucking joke. Yeah. It's like, do you not know that there's a pattern here? You don't realize that it's just the next corner. You and I are going to turn the next corner tomorrow. It's going to happen.
To a point, Sven, I see those patterns.
Of course you do.
Night and day, and I see them and I want to talk about them. But if I talk about them, then it riles everything up and we can't have a normal conversation and the fight starts.
So you are in a relationship where you can't even talk about shit. I mean, you can try, but it just creates this fucking inflamed fucking situation. Tell me though, you use the phrase, she has no idea of what she is doing to us. Is that true?
Yes. Because there are certain things that are happening. Now, remember with the car crash, I had to take my 3 sons and try to mother them through that because they saw it, they understood it. They also saw her drinking prior. Now, I'm a person that I acknowledge myself and I try to take responsibility for who I am and what I do. Yeah. And I felt my kids were hurt along with me. Well, and they didn't go the route to fix those relationships. And then she didn't see the consequences of not taking that, doing that.
When she was, go ahead, finish your thought.
I think it's the same thing with our relationship. Like things have happened for so long and I can say, well, these are the consequences from this happening, no intimacy or whatever. And this is what's going to happen. We're going to lose closeness. We're going to lose all this. I could tell her, you're going to do this or you're like this. This is what's going to happen. This is life. And she would never listen to that. Okay. And then when,
Well, then let me ask you, if in your work, when you're working a job, if you don't deliver on the job that you have promised, what happens? Do you get paid?
No. they'll let
Do
me know.
you get word of mouth for a new job?
No.
Do you get called back to that same company in all likelihood to do a job? So there is direct impact and sizable impact. In other words, there are consequences. What are the consequences to Cass when she treats you like shit, other than the escalated fighting and, the coming to blows that it was before? But the escalated fighting, what are the consequences if she treats you like shit and continues to perpetuate this behavior, not truly work on it more than half-ass, not really dive into her shit? What are the consequences?
They're not as severe as they should have been. And I've told her that before, you did this. I should have walked away from you.
Okay, but you're using a past tense verb, yet you're still in the relationship.
I'm torn because I understand that's where my childhood trauma comes up, and I understood her to the point where I feel like I know her better than she knows herself.
That might very well be, but isn't it fascinating you don't know yourself because you say I should have left her at 2 years, at 4 years, at 7 years, at 9 years. Yeah, but here the fuck you are. And 2 years from now, you could say I should have left her when I was on Meathead Sven's show. God damn, I should. Okay, so and what that tells me, and you've heard me say it before, and it's in the book, change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. Your fucking problem, and we all love hearing that fucking sentence, your fucking problem is that you're too strong for your own good. That you are so conditioned to eat shit, you have a gift. You are so fucking strong, and that's the problem.
I know.
I can take it. And so what fundamentally has to happen is one of two things. Either you have the courage to walk away before the pain gets so great, or your pain has to get so colossal. And usually, and I hate to fucking say it, your pain has to get so colossal that you say, finally, I'm out. And you know what? With somebody as tough as you know who's going to get hurt.
Yeah, I do.
It's the kids. It's one of the kids. Something is going to happen, either physically or emotionally or something.
I think that the emotional part is I'm starting to see it. I see them hurting already for me when they see me in the position that they are.
Well, of course, and God bless you for seeing it, but Jesus Christ, if they've been living in this shit, you think kids that fucking age haven't been seeing that shit for 14 fucking years?
I had when I was married to their father, that's why I left him, was because he was abusive to me and kids, and then I walked into this.
And what a testament. And it's not like because I walked into the relationship with Cass, it's the same shit. No, I was carrying my shit. And I'm not saying you caused Cass to do this. What I'm saying is if I don't solve my shit, then those same things that weren't red flags in the relationship with your husband, the same things that were still normal and acceptable then because of, thanks mom and dad for conditioning me that this shit's normal. It still continued to be normal because I hadn't fucking fully healed myself. I'm not blaming you for what's going on in this relationship. I'm not. But if I'm allowing it with a husband and I don't solve my own shit, I'm going to allow it with the wife. Doesn't matter if the fists are just slightly smaller. It doesn't fucking matter. I'm still going to allow the same shit. Okay, so here we are. And your problem is you're so fucking strong. And it's not that the shit with your kids, and I'm not trying to be a dick by saying this, but it's not that the emotional shit with your kids, you're starting to see it. Oh, it's so fucking deep already. Because the two people they love the most are at each other's throats, and being in this unloving home, you're normalizing that this is what love is. This is becoming their definition of love. They're not going to create some different version based on some fucking enlightenment, Paul on the road to Tarsus experience, lightning striking, whatever. No, they're going to replicate this as their definition of love, or they're going to go the exact opposite direction and create something totally different that is potentially just as toxic, just in a different form. They're going to say, well, I'm not going to do what mom and mom did. I'm going to do the opposite, but the opposite of shit can still be shit. So you either have to confront this now or wait for that hammer to fall, and it's going to fall. Why? Would it be safe to say, and you tell me, I don't know, I'm asking, if we were to think of sort of the trajectory of your marriage, like a stock. Okay, so like stock in Apple computers. You bought stock in Apple back in, 1997, all right? And you bought $5,000 worth of Apple stock. And that stock, it's had some bad weeks and, and fucking Steve Jobs left and it dipped and, then it went up. But the stock, even though a bad week or a bad month, it's generally been trending up for a long fucking time. And you're a rich motherfucker right now, okay? Has the stock in your marriage, despite the good weeks and the good months and the bad weeks and the bad months, has the stock over the last 15 years or the last 5 years, has it generally been trending down, generally holding the same, or generally trending up?
Holding the same.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think we're going up. I don't think we're okay, I can't say that because
I was wondering how the fuck you were coming to that. So go ahead.
The last thing that she did blew me away.
What was that?
The stealing from the farm. And because I know that kind of person, I don't think like that. And when I say I don't trust her, I thought I was dealing with somebody that I was able to trust and was doing right by the family. And then she blew me out of the water by having me sit down one morning and tell me that she stole umpteen amount of thousands of dollars. And I was like, oh my fucking God. You did this right underneath my nose. And that was right over a year. It was around this time that she told me last year. And it just killed me because I was her biggest fan when she was recovering from alcohol, thinking, we were going through rough times, Sven. I was working through her with the sobriety and I thought it was all okay. But once they say an addict is an addict, do they ever figure it out? Do they ever realize that that's who they are? And she walked right in and stole some money because of her own desire or whatever is going on with her. She didn't think about me.
Okay. No, two things. One, got to ask, what did she spend the money on?
Stupid shit. Going to the stores, paying her car, nothing major.
Okay. And it's interesting how you ended your story. You said she didn't think about me. Okay. Technically, if she stole it and didn't tell you about it until later, she did think about you. The reason she stole it and didn't tell you, she did it in secret, is because she was thinking about you, and not in the way you think. You mean thinking about me like being compassionate towards you, but technically she was thinking about you. She did it in secret because she knew if you knew, you'd say no, or she'd get in trouble. So she was cognizant of the fact that this was bad.
Yeah.
And she did it anyway. She was cognizant of the fact that this was against the rules of the relationship, which is why she did it in secret and had to admit later. And she was cognizant of the fact that this was fucking selfish. You had someone who was so profoundly selfish that she stole money from you, even though at the time you had been together for 13 years. So this is next level shit, right? Next level shit. So then, where you are now is, so she's crashed a car in front of the kids. And just let me ask this question. For you personally, and there's no right or wrong answer. For you personally, which for you is the greater crime? For you personally, her taking out her trauma in the marriage and on the kids and everyone in earshot, everyone in the home when she's out of rehab, her crashing the car in front of the kids, or her stealing from the farm thousands of dollars. Which for you is the greatest crime?
Stealing the money.
Because why? What is it about that act that makes it hurt so badly?
That like I said, I felt like she did it to me and she was so deceptive and she was someone else. And I thought, I don't even know you. And after all of these years, you can do this to me after I supported you. I think it was the timing of the situation that.
Okay, you use the phrase she was someone else. Let's run with that. Who was she? That person that she was when she was drunk and crashing the car, when she was stealing the money, when she was unleashing. Who was that person, or where did that person? Because clearly it is in her. Who is it, or where did that person come from?
like a double-edged sword for me right there, answer, because I could say two people. I believe that the person that she was when she did that was her younger self, of how she came up in the household she did and why she did what she did.
Right.
The one is how selfish she could be is my mom. And that's what my mom did to me.
Right.
And I was, oh my God, what am I doing? And that's why I'm like, I listened to your show religiously. I got her the book hoping that it would help her, but I thought to myself, I'm not sure, Sven. I love her.
Right.
I know people, I know people struggle at times and they're trying to get over their trauma. And I always think I wouldn't want to be left in my darkest time. And I look at it like I'm trying, but then I wonder how am I stupid?
For what? For staying with her in her darkest time when I'm just eating shit. Right. And see, this is the thing, is you can put the tools in front of someone. I get people coming into fucking session, paying an exorbitant amount of money to counsel with me. And when we get to the shit where they are having to confront their childhood and the memories, and which I'm able to dig up, and all the feelings that go with it, but also the implications of having to realize that maybe it's the parent that they venerated. Maybe it's the parent that they're still hoping to get love or approval from. And we have to confront what that 8-year-old little girl's authentic feelings actually were. I literally get people who will stonewall. They'll just shut down in the session. I get people who will never come back for another session. I literally have had more people than I could count who will literally say in the middle of a 6-hour session at like hour 3, keep your fucking money, and they'll end this session. Literally, they'll end the call. They'll end yeah. That's how bad it is. I get people who are war veterans, police, fire, EMTs, people have faced all manner of shit. But when we go back into their deepest, darkest shit, which is usually the stuff that drove them to seek the high of war, the drug of war, or the drug of becoming a cop, that's their means of escape. That when we get back to the original shit, no fucking way. They don't want to fucking touch it. So you have done everything you can. You have supported her. You have done all of this. And yet it is too scary. Let me ask you this. And this is something that I ask of people who have been in relationships with addicts of different stripes. Which person do you hate more? Her when she is using, or her when she is sober?
When she's sober.
And why is that?
It's like all of her triggers sit right there. Like, it's like, to be honest, Sven, it's like I fly back to my childhood of being around somebody that is so triggered by everything you do, instead of just being an authentic, genuine self, relaxed and going with the flow. And that was what she did when she'd drink, she was fun and she would laugh. And I love that part about her. And then when she found sobriety, I feel like she turned into her mother, and I didn't know who she was. And I kept telling her, I don't love this person. I don't know who you are. And
that's the her that she was conditioned to be by those parents in the past. And there's one other reason. And usually when I ask this of addicts, they say, well, I hate the person when she's shooting up, or when he's gambling away all our money. That's the one I hate the most. I say, no, it's not. And they say, well, fuck are you talking about? I say, no, you hate the sober one. They're like, why? I say, because the sober one isn't the one that's going to and staying in rehab. The sober one is the one that is picking up the bottle. Once they've already picked up the bottle, they're fucked. All right. What are you going to do? Blame someone for not putting it down when you know they're an addict? No, it's the one that picks up the bottle. It's the one that isn't calling up their fucking sponsor. It's the one that isn't staying in fucking therapy or whatever it is when they're sober, because then they do have greater control of their senses. So where you're at. So let's get to where you are at today. And just for the record, I just want to fast forward the tape here. If you choose to get out of this relationship, and we're not saying it's a yes or a no, right? But if you do choose to do that at some point, and hell, if you choose to stay in, but especially if you choose to get out at some point, you have to double down in doing your fucking work.
Yes.
Okay, that aside, you said the shit I learned from my childhood and carried into my relationships is so I would go back. I would just keep going back. I eat shit, I go back. And my feelings weren't being heard. And I tolerated things I shouldn't. So let me ask you, in your relationship today, not 5 years ago, not 12 years ago, today, what percent do you keep going back, tolerating your feelings not being heard and tolerating things I shouldn't? Those three things, what percent are you doing that today in your relationship with Cass? Is it 27%, 98.5%, 43%? What generally would you say is the percent you are still engaging in the behaviors that you have always engaged in since childhood? Thanks, Dad, for being a dick and not protecting me from Mom.
God, honestly, it's not half. I think it's lower than it was before because I'm starting to recognize things about myself and what I'm doing that keep a situation
in the moment. So in the moment, it's less. So give me the number. If it's less than half, what's the number?
40%.
So in the moment, it's 40%. And you can always change your mind later. In the moment. Now, I'm going to ask the same question, but I'm not going to have the telephoto lens. Now I'm going to put on the wide angle lens. Okay. And that is, so in the moment, I'm able to dial it down. But overall, right now in the relationship, what percent? Because the truth is, you're still in the fucking relationship. And you've had this cumulative effect of 14 years of eating shit. So what percent are you fucking, is it just more of the fucking same? Sure, you're able to, tone it down in the fucking moment, but just overall, what percent are you still going back, allowing your feelings to not be heard and tolerating things I shouldn't?
Yeah, that's a bigger percent.
Such as what?
It's probably 60 to 70 because I know
Pick a number.
70.
And just out of curiosity, you said 60 or 70, and then you said 70. Just out of curiosity, if, and I'm sure it's not, but if that number were wrong, what would the more accurate number be?
100%.
Motherfucker. So I gotta ask, just out of curiosity, why 45 seconds ago did you say 70%? And I'm not scolding, I'm asking.
Because I think about the little things that we do that we're trying to improve, the good times that we.
Okay. No, this is, you are giving so much you are so fucking insightful, Kitty. You are giving so much insight into every single couple. And in a way, you're giving us insight into Cass. Mm-hmm. Because what you said is when things are, sort of coasting along with Cass, she focuses on that and hey, it's good. It's good. Why would I fucking, but you're doing the same fucking thing. You're saying I focus on the little things and then I don't allow myself to see the big things. You're literally guilty of the exact same fucking crime. And if I'm fucked on this, you tell me, am I fucked on this?
No, you're not.
Exactly. Okay. So, you went through school, I went through school, we all went through school, whatever, at different levels, go through the trades. If you're going to become a fucking plumber, you still got to go through fucking plumbing school and there are tests to take. Okay. And on tests, there are true false questions. Well, you got a 50-50 shot. We're only going to give you 2 fucking points if you get that one right. But then there are the multiple choice. Well, there's like 5 fucking choices. So we'll give you, 8 points if you get that one fucking right. But then at the end of every fucking test, there's like an essay question. Oh, great. Thanks. Well, that fucker is worth 30 points. Because it's harder, right? Yeah. So we call those weighted questions. They are weighted differently. So you have 14 motherfucking years of cars bent around trees and children trauma motherfucking tized. You've got fights, physical fucking fist fights. And you know that if you heard that my girlfriend was getting punched in the fucking face, you'd be telling her girlfriend, get the fuck out. Right. Of course, they don't ever say that to the guy that's getting punched in the face, but we'll leave that for another day. Okay. And you fucking know that if, she's stealing fucking money. So you got all these gargantuan things. You got these giant essay questions at the end of the fucking test, all worth like fucking 50 points. You got 20 of them. And you're looking at the true false questions at the beginning. But I got all these true false questions, right? And I'm not trying to be a dick, but dude, come on. You're doing the same motherfucking thing that she is. And so and you just admitted it, so I want to ask you this question. What is the grand fear driving your behavior? What in one sentence or less is it you're really fucking afraid of? Because you fucking know I'm right. You know this has gone to fucking hell in a handbasket, and you're trying to just stay focused on the little things. You want to believe. You want to believe and hope that it's changed, and you fucking know it hasn't. What is the grand fear driving your behavior in one sentence or less?
That I'm able to be loved. And I'm able to love someone else.
Oh, man. You're sweet. That is so sweet that in the middle of this fucking storm that we're in right now, there's that little girl. Just love me, mommy. Just fucking love me. Just be nice to me.
My whole life that way.
Of course you have. And that tough shell of yours, it's guarding that little girl inside, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't.
Yep.
What else to do? So.
Right.
I mean, that's why I said she's everything to me. I mean,
because those little things that you focus on, do you know what those are? Those are like little teaspoonfuls of love.
Mm-hmm. I know.
God damn, those teaspoonfuls feel good, don't they?
They do. They're absolutely right.
And you became a master, as I talk about in the book, a master relationship camel. I can go a long distance on a little bit of love. Just give me a little bit. I'll do everything. You can punch me in the face. You can steal my money. You can abuse my kids by showing them scenes that they should never see. You can do anything you want to me. Just give me that little bit of teaspoon of love, and I'll do anything for you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something I can never fix.
Oh, absolutely, you can fix this. I fix this shit every day with clients. You can absolutely fix it. Literally, there is zero question in my mind. Because here's the problem. You fundamentally believe, you just said, am I lovable? Okay, so you and I both know that question got embedded way fucking back there. Am I correct?
You're absolutely correct.
Okay, and you are how old?
45.
45. All right. Plenty of life ahead of you. All right. So you are 45 years old. You and I both know that notion got embedded fucking 45 years ago-ish, right? Okay. And make up a name for your youngest child and give us your youngest child's name, age.
He's 17, and we'll say his name's Sam.
Sam. And when Sam was 6, was Sam a sweetheart?
He was the sweetest.
The sweetest. I have no doubt about it, right? Yeah. And he was cute, and he was creative, and handsome, and playful, and rambunctious, and ornery when he didn't get his nap, and mommy, I want another cookie, and all those things, right? Yep. I'm just curious, what sucked so bad about Sam that would justify him believing that he was unlovable? I have to know.
There's nothing. I love that child.
Well, then surely Noah, your middle child, surely he was a piece of shit when he was 6.
No, those 3 boys of mine saved me.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. Then Donnie, your oldest, who you named after Donnie Osmond, then Donnie, your oldest, when he was 7, he must have been a total piece of crap because, right?
No.
Oh, well, wait a minute. So why? I'm confused here. Why weren't they a piece of crap and unlovable at 6? Why weren't they?
Well, they had me.
What's that?
They had me.
Okay, fair enough. But you've got somebody who believes she's a piece of crap. How could you teach them they weren't a piece of crap? I guess what I'm asking is this. Is it possible for a 7-year-old to be total dog shit?
No.
No? Okay, then I'm really confused now. Then how is it you were dog shit?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. You don't know. So you're allowing for the possibility that you were?
No. That's the trick
Were
question.
you or weren't you?
I wasn't. I wasn't.
So then, if I'm hearing you correctly, the fact that you're 45 and believe that you are unlovable, that you basically are dog shit, the fact that you believe it at 45, but you're saying at 7, I wasn't. No, of course not. No fucking child is. Right. Go ahead.
I don't understand how people they purposely hurt me, and I don't understand that. Like, well, my mom knew she hit me, that was hurting me at a small age. And now I have a wife that she knew she was drinking and she knew she stole money, and you're hurting me.
And the problem is that the child believes it's my fault. I must be shit. That's why this is happening. I mean, you literally believe my fear in leaving my wife is that, am I lovable? Will I ever get love? No one will ever love me. That you literally just said, that's your fear. I extrapolated a little bit, but that's what you said. Am I lovable? Okay. So you were taught to believe that, holy shit, maybe I'm not lovable. Right. And you're like, right, because you're like, well, mom was shit to me. Dad allowed me to be treated like shit. I must be shit.
Yeah.
Because a child, it doesn't occur to the child, maybe they are shit.
Yeah.
I got news for you, Kitty, that all of us see except you. You claim that you can see Cass better than she can see herself. I got news for you. I literally have people in Australia right this second listening to this conversation. I have people literally in Romania right now. We have listeners in Romania. I literally have listeners right now in Japan. And they can see that your parents were horse shit parents. And, just out of curiosity, is love a feeling or is love an action? Just out of curiosity.
It's an action.
Oh, so then if we judge your parents based on their actions, they did not love you. Your mother was physically and verbally abusive, and your dad did not protect you. He allowed you to be physically and verbally abused, i.e., they did not love you. They were bad parents, obviously. I got people in Japan that know they were fucking bad parents. I got people in fucking Sweden that know they were bad fucking parents. I mean, just what you've told us.
Yeah.
But one person in this whole equation of everybody listening in on this conversation, one person believes that the child, the victim, is the bad person. Only one person believes that shit. You are fundamentally engaging in victim blaming of the most egregious kind. You are blaming a child victim. Now, I just have to ask. If someone were to verbally and physically abuse your youngest son, Sam, how much fire of hell itself would come flying out of your person?
Oh, that person would be done.
Because wait, you wouldn't blame Sam, the victim?
No.
Oh, and yet you feel and Sam, you said, I believe, is 17, and yet you feel quite comfortable blaming Kitty, the 7-year-old victim. That's worse. Got news for you, kid. That's worse. You're blaming a 7-year-old, and you are exonerating a mother and a father. You are protecting your parents at the expense of yourself. You are protecting your parents at the expense of a 7-year-old child. And now, so that means now it's not them abusing the child. Now it's you. Because all of us can see what was done to that child. All of us can see that child was the victim, but you still insist on telling that child she's dog shit. You're the one doing it. It ain't us. We're saying the parents that are fucking teaching her that shit, that are verbally and physically abusing her, and that are allowing her to be verbally and physically abused, they are obviously shit parents. Who the fuck does that? There's no definition of good parent, no rubric of good parenting under which that fits. None, zero. But you are blaming the victim. Now, either you begin to have some motherfucking compassion on that little girl And on that 17-year-old girl who began acting out, that 14-year-old girl who began acting out as anybody would if they were talked dog shit. I have stacks of clients every month who get the exact same fucking message in one form or another, and they act out. They act out by becoming perfect to avoid the criticism or to get the approval. They act out by giving love to everyone else. They act out by the bottle. They act out by gambling. They act out by sliding into fucking drugs. They act out by spreading their legs. They act out by hurting women. They act out by. Right. Until you of all fucking people, should know the fucking pain that 35-year-old Kitty was in. You of all people should know. You of all people should be bringing the compassion to 22-year-old Kitty. You of all fucking people should be bringing the compassion to 14-year-old Kitty. You of all people should be protecting 7-year-old Kitty. You of all people. You should be the one saying, no, fuck you, mom and dad, fuck you. Who the fuck does that? You know what you need to do? You need a couple of things. You need to write, if you haven't already, you need to, first of all, start by writing a letter to 7-year-old you, or 6, you can pick 9, whatever is the age. And you need to tell her everything that she needs to hear. You need to hold her so close to you. You need to start whispering into her ear. You need to let her heave her grief into your shoulder and into your hair. You need to smell her sweet hair, and you need to tell her no one's going to fucking hurt you again. I got you. I'm getting you the fuck out of here. Your problem isn't what's going on in your marriage. Your problem is what's going on deep inside of you, that you are still not protecting that little girl. Everything starts back there.
Yeah.
It's not about whether or not you stay or go in your marriage. You could handle another fucking 10 years. You could take her slings and arrows and her abuse another 10 fucking years. And I'm sure part of you is thinking, well, our kids are about to hit 18. And so, gee, now it's okay. I understand that's part of the fucking equation, whatever. But the real shit is happening back there. And let me tell you something, and this is counterintuitive. You solve that, you begin to really look at that shit. Even you don't even have to have a total solution. You do half of that work, the really deep shit of going back to 7-year-old you, and finally look at mom and dad for what the fuck they really were, and just look at the truth for once. Stop protecting them, and all of a sudden this shit starts to heal itself. It starts to fucking reveal itself. So let me ask you one final question. And my final question is this. Actually, it's 2. First one is this. When did you know? When did you first have a ping on the sonar, like in those submarine movies? Ping. When did you first have a ping on the sonar that you may need to leave this relationship? If you were to be totally honest.
Probably single-digit years before we bought the house.
Do your best. If you were to really pin it down, do your best. When did you get the first ping?
I would have said probably 2 years into it when the abuse started.
2 years into it. And it's been 12 years since of a stock trending down. Yeah. And final question is this, Kitty. What final question do you have for me?
I just wonder in the back of my head, am I so fucked up that what happened to me in my childhood, am I even fixable?
Absolutely. 100%. I literally have zero doubt in my mind. Literally zero. I do this shit every day for 35 years. I see it every day. I see lives transformed. I've got people in Community Plus, our group on the website. I see people with stories after stories after stories with the book. And all it boils down to is your willingness to dive in. And I know you've done some of the work, and I applaud you for that. You wouldn't even be on the fucking show if you didn't have a willingness to begin to look. But in all honesty, it's the exact same thing as with Cass. See, with Cass, you believe she's fixable. That's why you keep holding on. The hope that she can be fixed. So really, you think somebody who bends cars around trees and fucking steals from the family farm, you think she can be fixed, but you're so colossally fucked that you can't be fixed?
Did you put it like that?
Exactly, ding-a-ling. Exactly. You're the easy one. And that's not fair to Cass. But no, exactly. No, dude, trust me. This is so fucking doable. This is so doable. But I understand from your perspective, when life has been sitting its fat ass right on your fucking head and you can't fucking breathe. And I don't mean the good way sitting on your head. I mean, just you can't fucking breathe. Dude, I get it. I totally get it. I am telling you as a matter of absolute fact. It's absolute. And on top of it, even better, it's not a process that has to fucking take forever. It's not an issue of time. It's an issue of depth. It's a willingness to go down in the shit. And what did I tell you earlier? Even people who have seen war, who have eaten real bullets, all that shit, even they, if they're willing to go deep enough, the healing can come. As I tell people, transformation can be immediate if you go deep enough. Kitty, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. You're a fucking badass. The amount of softness that you showed inside that tough exterior, it's just beautiful. It's really fucking beautiful. And what that tells me, though, also, is that your outer shell isn't so hard that your healing would be some gigantic process. You're already able to tap into the softness. That's half my work with people, is just breaking down, cracking that fucking shell, jackhammering that shit. And you can go there so effortlessly on your own. So you can actually do this shit. You really can. And I mean that. And that ultimately is the choice. And as far as your relationship with Cass, like I said, either the pain's going to have to get bad enough and it's going to get worse, because that's the direction the stock is trending, or you dive into the shit, and you won't have to go far into diving into your own shit, where you will have really one of the best things about doing the self-work, and it's clarity. You're going to start to have more clarity. You just have to open up to start seeing that 7-year-old's pain, and you have to be honest about what mom and dad really were. Final assignment for you is this. In addition to the writing the letter to the 7-year-old, final assignment is this. And this is going to sound so fucking dopey, but I want you to do it anyway. Okay. I want you to watch the movie. You've seen it before, but I want you to watch the movie Good Will Hunting.
Oh, okay. I have seen it.
Probably a million times, but I want you to watch it in the context of the idea of abuse, the idea of parents, and the idea of the belief system that you have been holding, that it's my fault, I suck, I'm no good, I'm unlovable. All right, go watch that movie. I love you. You've been great. Thank you so much for being on the show, Kitty. You've been just a peach. Thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do, Sven. If it wasn't for people like you, I wouldn't have started even in this journey. So
yeah, but you're the one having the courage to go the journey, and so you get all the applause on that one, young lady. Rob, hell of a show today.
Yeah, it was a great one, Sven. And Kitty should feel good that she's helped a lot of people, and she's helped a lot of couples, I think.
How much do we see that on this show? We get people commenting, boy, I listened to that show. Well, even Kitty said that today, that she was rocked by a show about a year ago or so.
Yep.
It's just so neat to see how everybody's lives are impacted, and how the lesbians have the same fucking problems as the rest of us. And
there are these universal truths. I mean, history does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme, and we keep experiencing this over and over on this show.
You're a goddamn poet, man. Well, thank you to everyone listening in to the podcast of the Badass Counseling Show, to the saga of Kitty and Cass. On behalf of my team in studio, KC over in the booth, Rob the Rocket on the mixing board, I am Sven Erlandson. Have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by 2-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.